HB 3586, the Parents Protection Act of 2026, that redefines abuse to exclude LGBTQ plus children, has been engrossed, which means it passed one part and is now moving forward. This one is very similar to the last video, and HB 3586 is titled the Parents Protection Act of 2026, but its actual function is far more sweeping. According to the Oklahoma legislature and multiple legislature tractors, the bill amends adoption and liability laws, rewrites the Oklahoma Children's Code, redefines abuse, neglect, and child endangerment, explicitly protects parents who refuse to support a child's gender transition, prohibits adoption agencies from considering whether a parent will affirm a child's gender identity, and strengthens penalties for sexual abuse, while simultaneously carving out exemptions for anti-trans parenting. This is not a neutral child welfare bill. It is a bill that redefines harm in order to remove legal protections from transgender and gender diverse youth. Across all versions and summaries, HB 3586 includes two core provisions that directly target LGBTQ plus youth. Adoption agencies cannot consider whether parents will affirm a child's identity. The bill states, no person shall be denied the opportunity to become an adoptive parent on the basis of the adoptive parent's refusal to enable the child to engage in gender transition. This means anti-trans households must be treated the same as affirming households. Agencies cannot prioritize safe, affirming placements for trans youth, and a child's identity cannot be considered in placement decisions. And the next one is raising a child according to biological sex is never abuse, neglect, or endangerment. The bill amends multiple statutes to say raising or referring to a juvenile based on biological sex shall not constitute abuse, neglect, or child endangerment. This is the heart of the bill and the most dangerous part. HB 3586 targets LGBTQ plus youth because it removes legal protection from transgender children. If a parent refuses to use a child's name or pronouns, forbids social transition, punishes gender expression, denies mental health care for gender dysphoria, and isolates the child for being LGBTQ. None of this can be considered abuse. DHS cannot intervene, and courts cannot intervene, as well as caseworkers cannot intervene. It protects parents who forcibly detransition their child. Under HB 3586, a parent may confiscate gender-affirming clothing, force a child to present as their assigned sex, ban LGBTQ plus related therapy, punish the child for expressing their identity, and the law shields them from consequences. It blocks trans-affirming adoption placements. Adoption agencies are forbidden from considering whether a parent will affirm a child's gender identity. This means trans youth can be placed with openly hostile families. Affirming parents cannot be prioritized, and agencies must ignore the child's safety needs. It encourages anti-trans parenting practices. By legally protecting non-affirmation, the bill legitimizes anti-LGBTQ plus ideology, encourages parents to suppress their child's identity, and signals that affirmation is optional, but rejection is protected. It increases suicide risk. Every major medical association agrees affirmation saves lives. HB 3586 removes affirmation from the definition of child well-being. It also affects and harms LGBTQ plus adults. LGBTQ plus adults seeking to adopt are disadvantaged. While the bill does not explicitly ban LGBTQ plus adoptive parents, it elevates biological sex as a legal priority, protects anti-trans parenting, and encourages agencies to favor parents who reject gender diversity. This creates a climate where LGBTQ plus adults may be viewed as less aligned with the bill's intent, and LGBTQ plus foster parents lose protection. If a foster parent affirms a child's gender identity and the biological family objects, the foster parent may face scrutiny because the bill protects non-affirmation, not affirmation. HB 3586 reshapes the child welfare system. It rewrites the definition of abuse by carving out a special exemption for anti-trans parenting. The bill narrows the definition of emotional abuse, undermines mental health standards, and contradicts best practices in child welfare. It forces caseworkers to ignore identity-based harm. Casework cannot treat anti-trans harm as abuse. This ties their hands and endangers children. It politicizes adoption and foster care. The bill inserts ideological requirements into child placement decisions, replacing the best interest of the child standard with the biological sex standard. But it also affects other it interacts with other anti-LGBTQ plus bills. It is part of the pattern from HB 3130 for gender affirming care bans, 3138 to mandate misgendering in school, 3242 that bans trans people from bathrooms, housing, and shelter, and 3132 and 3134 that ban DEI in higher education. And then, of course, the last video that we just went over, it's the same thing. HB 3586 is the child welfare component of this pattern, and it ensures that trans youth cannot be protected even in a crisis. But it also affects people outside of the community. Even though the bill targets trans youth, it weakens child abuse protections for all children. By narrowing the definition of abuse, the bill makes it harder to intervene in emotional or psychological harm, creates loopholes for abusive parents, and undermines DHS authority. It politicizes adoption and foster care. Agencies must navigate ideological roles instead of focusing solely on child safety. It increases legal confusion for caseworkers. What counts as ordinary force, what counts as biological sex-based parenting, what is exempt from abuse statutes. This slows down investigations and increases risk. It creates unsafe placements. Children, LGBTQ or not, may be placed with families who are hostile to their needs because the bill restricts what agencies can consider. It increases state liability. Lawsuits may arise from unsafe placements, failure to protect children, and inconsistent enforcement. It undermines evidence-based child welfare. The bill replaces psychology, social work standards, and medical best practices. with political ideology. HB 3586 is not a child protection bill. It is a child erasure bill. It erases trans youth from legal protections, trans identity from adoption decisions, the ability of caseworkers to intervene, the right of children to be affirmed, and the safety of LGBTQ plus youth in hostile homes. And in doing so, it destabilizes the entire child welfare system, harming every child, every family, and every professional who works to keep kids safe.